Alright, what's going on guys, it's Alone Courier here, and I'm here to talk to you guys today about something I thought about this morning when I was just sitting there on the shitter, you know, I was sitting watching a couple of videos, and a video came up in my recommended, and it was a video taking the piss out of No Man's Sky. So I decided to sit down and watch it, you know. It's just really a parody video about just the amount of lies and bullshit that went into No Man's Sky, and I will leave it in the description if you want to go and check it out. I highly recommend that you do, it's fucking hilarious. And it really came to the conclusion that should game developers really be trusted in this day and age? Because, well, if you look at No Man's Sky and you look at the marketing for the game, the way they were describing it and the way they were bigging the game up, you'd think it was going to be this colossal, absolutely gigantic game, but it kind of fell flat on its ass, if you know what I'm saying. If you ever played No Man's Sky, you know how bad it is, and I'm lucky enough to not have wasted my money on that game. I was almost tempted to buy it on Steam, but then I realised it ran like shit on PC, so I didn't. But No Man's Sky is a prime example of why developers should be kept on some sort of a leash when it comes to marketing their games, because it's far too often in this day and age that developers will release a trailer or talk about their games and they will make it sound like it's the best thing since sliced bread, and the end product ends up being completely different than what they promised you. Now, another developer that's absolutely perfect as an example of this is Ubisoft. They show off so many games, and the way you see those games pre-release is nothing like what you end up with after the game does release. Rainbow Six Siege is a perfect example of that. If you ever watched the original trailer for Rainbow Six Siege, you would think, holy shit dude, this game looks absolutely unbelievable. It looks amazing. You know, it looks so cinematic and it looks amazing as well. And then you see the finished product of Rainbow Six Siege, and half of the stuff that they showed off in the pre-release trailers aren't even in the game. One of them, for an example, is there was an extraction mission, the hostage extraction multiplayer game mode. There is one part that they showed you in that pre-release trailer, and they showed you dropping in on the roof via a helicopter. You know, you rappel down the ropes and onto the roof. Now, I'm not too sure what the exact wording of that would be, but you know, you drop down onto the roof from the ropes of the helicopter, you know, like that bit in COD 4, and it's badass, you know, you think, that looks fucking awesome, but guess what, that's not even in the base game. You know, you can't even do that, and it's like, the graphical downgrade on the game as well, holy shit, that's something else entirely. You look at the original graphics for the game showed off in the marketing, and it looks amazing, and then you look at what the game ended up like, and you think, really dude, this looks like graphics from the original Rainbow Six games, it's terrible. And it's just another example of games that get downgrades. Another one that you know that I'm going to talk about, that I'm about to talk about right now, is Watch Dogs. Watch Dogs, man, that fucking game. Now, if you ever got sucked into the hype of that game, I'm not going to blame you, because that game did look truly amazing pre-release. The graphics look good, the game looked good, it sounded good, but guess what, it releases, it went under a graphical downgrade, and everything looks like shit, and a lot of the things that were promised in the game aren't in the game. And it's like No Man's Sky and Rainbow Six Siege in that respect, you know, so many of the things that they show you aren't even in the game, or it's went under a graphical downgrade and it looks like shit. You know, like, you look at the marketing for No Man's Sky, you know, half of these interviews that Sean Murray did, and he'd sit there and talk about the game, and he'd be like, yeah, you can meet other players, it's got multiplayer, you can grief other players, there's like factions, there's all this stuff, but guess what, half of that's not even in the game, there's no multiplayer in the game. But guess what, Sean Murray waited until a day before the game released to tell you that there was no multiplayer in the game, and due to the fact that he released that on Twitter and not an actual press release, just it kinda even more deceived the viewers and the people buying the game. Because I know a lot of people that pre-ordered the game on the basis that it was going to be a multiplayer game, right? A lot of people did that, but guess what, there's no multiplayer in the game, and he releases a tweet on Twitter which barely any people know about, you know. Well, I'm not saying that his Twitter is hardly known about, but, you know, not many people have Twitter, and a lot of the people that might have pre-ordered No Man's Sky didn't see it on Twitter. Now, if you're going to try and hold these people responsible and say, well, you went off and bought the game, you knew that there was going to be no multiplayer, but you still bought the game. It's like, no, hello games, shut the fuck up. If you wait until a day before the game releases and post a tweet saying that there's no multiplayer in the game, you can't expect everybody to hear about it by the time their games come out, by the time their pre-order like drops onto their front porch, you know? That's fucking ridiculous. You can't expect people to cancel their pre-order before then if they pre-ordered it thinking it was going to be a multiplayer game. And then also there's the fact that once you get to the centre of the universe, one of the things that Sean Murray said in the game that said that wasn't going to happen, happens, you know? He says, what if it was just a fade to black? I would never do that. But guess what? It's essentially just a fade to black cutscene. It's not even a cutscene, it just fucking pulls you back for the rest of the galaxy, saying ha ha ha, fuck you for all your efforts. And another game that's almost like that as well is Destiny. You look at Destiny, right, the trailers, so much of the content showed off in the trailers ended up being in the DLC, and then there's the fact that half the game's content of the DLC was supposed to be in the base fucking game. You look at Destiny, right, the Taken King was supposed to be in the base game. Guess what the premise of the Taken King is? Oryx has shown up to kill you for killing his son. So if he shows up to kill you for killing his son, that obviously means that the previous DLCs had to have been in the base game as well, right? Yes, that's what it means. There's so much content in Destiny that was crammed out of the base game and shoved into DLC packs, it's unfucking believable. And then you get the story that people were left with Destiny. That was a fucking shambles. You can't even call that a story. You know, I try to hear people defending the story of Destiny, and I think to myself, are you fucking kidding me? There is absolutely no story to Destiny. It's so fucking hard to understand, and it's not even like it's hard to understand in a good way, like Halo. Halo has got a very rich and in-depth, complex campaign. It's got a lot of things going on underneath the scenes that you wouldn't realise normally unless you're paying close attention to them. Halo has a lot of fine detail that went into backstorytelling within the Halo franchise, you know, such as the terminals in Halo 3. There is so much lore behind those that, you know, it went on to form Halo 4. And then you've got Destiny, which just has no story altogether. You know, there's a difference between having a lot of story that's easy to miss and having no story in the fucking first place. Destiny was so fucking bad for deceiving the people that went off and pre-ordered the game. And it's a prime example of why you shouldn't pre-order games. Call of Duty. A lot of people like to debate whether or not Call of Duty's got a graphical downgrade before they come out, because generally what they show off originally is quite different to what the end product ends up being. But I think Call of Duty's quite different. You know, at least they show it off looking bad and release it looking bad, you know? But there is always the fact that trailers for Call of Duty are always made up completely of pre-rendered cutscenes, and you think, holy shit, the game is actually going to look that good, and it doesn't, you know? Infinite Warfare is a prime example of that. I'm not saying that the game looks bad entirely, but you look at the cutscenes that they've released as air quote trailers, and you think, holy shit, that trailer looks absolutely fantastic, and then you look at the gameplay and you think, yeah, it looks nothing like that at all. You know, it is debated whether or not Call of Duty looks similar to what they reveal it as, but that's another game entirely. But these games that I've spoken about in this video, they're all fucking prime suspects of it. And it just shows you that developers nowadays really don't give a shit about what the end customer ends up expecting or even wanting. So I think nowadays, if you're one of these people that still pre-orders every single game that comes out, you should really rethink that. You know, and I'm not saying don't buy the games entirely, I'm just saying do not pre-order the games. Because it's been a long time, a long fucking time, since developers have made pre-ordering worth your pre-order. You know, that's what you want to do. You want the games developers to make the game worth pre-ordering. You know, you shouldn't feel like inclined to pre-order the game just because it's the new Call of Duty game. You should wait until they make it worth your while to pre-order it and show off a game that's worth pre-ordering. That's the thing, you know. There's a difference between a game making it worth pre-ordering and a game that just, you know, you pre-order it on instinct, you know. And too many people pre-order games on instinct nowadays, you know, and it's kind of ridiculous at this point. And it really can be blamed as the reason why game developers get away with such shady shit nowadays. You know, and I'm not going to say that No Man's Sky had the largest pre-order stat ever, because I don't know, to be honest. But I'm assuming that a lot of that with No Man's Sky is down to the amount of people that got sucked into the hype. So whatever you do with video games in this decade, do not get sucked into the hype. Do not pre-order it. It ends up ruining the day one quality of your favourite games. So yeah, hope you guys have enjoyed the video. It's been the Lone Courier, and I'll see you guys in the next one. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I always do appreciate it. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.